Nigeria's National Youth Conference, also known as the Youth Confab, is a significant event aimed at empowering young Nigerians to participate actively in nation building. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu announced the 30-day conference, which will address diverse challenges and opportunities confronting Nigerian youths, who constitute 60% of the nation's population. In his 2025 New Year message, Tinubu described the Youth Confab as a testament to his administration's commitment to empowering young Nigerians and harnessing their potential for national development. The Confab aims to provide a platform for young Nigerians to engage in discussions on governance, the economy, and politics. It will also unite young Nigerians nationwide towards providing or developing solutions to issues such as education, unemployment, innovation, security, and also social justice. Some of the key agenda items for the conference include youth peace and security, which aims to address the challenges of insecurity and promote peace among young Nigerians. There's also education reforms, which of course is discussing ways to improve the education system and provide opportunities for young Nigerians. There's also economic empowerment that explores strategies for economic growth and empowerment amongst young Nigerians. The Ministry of Youth and Sports Development is set to host this conference, which will be a significant step towards harnessing the creative energy of young Nigerians to build a better future. In the words of the President, the Youth Confab will begin in the first quarter of 2025, a testament to our commitment to youth inclusiveness and investment as nation builders. End of quote. Well, joining me on the program, just like I mentioned earlier to discuss this, we have Adaramoye Michael Lenin, is National Coordinator of Youth Rights Campaign. He joins virtually from Abuja. We also have Eyitayo Ogunmola, is a techpreneur and the CEO of Utiva, who of course will be joining, or is joining virtually from the United Kingdom. There's also Abdul Danbature, the Speaker of the Arewa Youth Assembly for Good Leadership, whose location is Kaduna, and who is joining virtually also. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Let me start with, of course, a very open one. Let me start with you, Michael. What do you make of the idea of a youth conference, particularly at this time, knowing that the youth makes about 60% of Nigeria's population?
Of course, as we all know, I mean, this is not the first time government will come up with ideas regarding how to engage not just the youth, but even other section of the population. I mean, just about 10 years ago, we had the national conference, which was done by the, Jonathan-led administration. And till today, many are still asking of the outcome of such a conference. I mean, the impact. I mean, what has the impact and even the agreed reach, and I mean, what are the progress level? I mean, despite being held 10 years ago, so that when the president is coming with a new one, we need to ask many questions. I mean, there are many questions begging for answer, because today, I mean, just some months ago, Nigerian youth took to the streets to express their genuine concern, and we will be forced to ask that is the confab a reaction to the agitation of Nigerian youth some months ago. And if that is the case, then we believe that it is not a step in the right direction. Of course, and which is why for us in the Youth Rights Campaign, I mean, for the very first time that this idea was brought up, we've made it clear that this is not the way to go, because all of the things that the president felt the confab would address are things that the demands of Nigerian through various agitations have been able to voice out to the presidency, so that if the presidency itself was genuinely concerned about the state of Nigerian youth, the well-being of Nigerian youth, I mean, all these things that this confab targets to address.
I mean, I'm just tempted to ask. You seem, Okay, because I understand, I mean, you were part of course, what you've gone through in the previous months, build up to now and all of that. I mean, how better or how best do you think the government can best engage the youth if you feel this confab, is not the way to go?
Well, yes, thank you. We've advocated for democratic participation, and it appears that the Nigerian ruling class are yet to really grasp the idea of what democratic participation means. Because if you are coming to tell us that a confab that will hold maybe for just a few days translates into youth participating in nation building, then we think that itself is entirely wrong. I mean, before now, our own idea is that for a society to progress, not just the youth, but every, including workers and every part of the society, must contribute to both the process of making decisions and even process of implementing decisions in the society. But in Nigeria today, what we've had is a democracy that is undemocratic, which means that many youth, many students, many workers are not being carried along in the process of making decisions. So that for us, a national confab does not come as a substitute for any democratic process that the nation want to involve youth in. So that before now, for instance, advocate for.
Michael, we seem to have a bit of connectivity issues with you, if you can hear me. Let me leave you for a moment, if you can hear me, because we are having a bit of connectivity issues with you. Let me go to Eyitayo Ogunmola on this one. What do you make of the idea of a youth confab? Is that a step in the right direction at this time?
Thank you so much for having me. Just want to be very sure that I'm audible. Hope you can hear me well.
Yes, you're good.
So the way I think about this is, I will be very clear in terms of where I stand. This certainly is a right step in the right direction, considering multiple factors. I think the most important factor to me is honestly giving young people the voice, not just to address their concerns, but also to be a part of the different policy making framework and institutions with the apparatuses that we have as a country. You see, democracy is a continuum, and there is no magic wand in terms of fixing an economy. If you understand, the type of president that we have is someone who believes so much in dialogue. Even before he became a president, he has always hosted multiple times, colloquium, seminars and conferences just to bring people together, debate certain ideology, talk about certain principles and, ideals in terms of building a country. But why is this, conference important at this time? It is important for me. When I think about it from three different perspectives. Number one is, bringing up many young people together in form of representation and giving a certain opportunity or a platform for everyone to, air their opinion in terms of how we can build this country. The second one is that then that cascades down, to the grassroots. Everyone then starts to believe, that they are a part of, this renewed hope agenda and this change. But the third one for me, which I think is most important when you think about this from the long-term perspective, is the policy contribution from this conference can then be adopted, by multiple, legislators that want to, further engage, with these policies and transform them or translate them into, into bills and into laws. If you don't bring people together into a room to talk, you certainly wouldn't understand, their agitation, deep dive, deep down. The second one is, the people that represent us at the Senate, at the, House of Rep, even at the House of Assembly, probably don't get this type of opportunity every time to even hear our opinion. Maybe this is going to create the platform for them to listen, extract a bit of some intelligence, and then move on from there to translating them into certain policies that we can use to enhance, the journey of national building.
I mean, you're really painting, you're painting a very, what some would call an idealistic process, looking at all that you've said and the fact that you've given some scenarios, which some will say maybe it's not in tandem with reality or what, many Nigerians have seen. A typical example is during the End Bad Governance protest, where a couple of young persons were picked up and charged with treason, right? It took the intervention of the press, social media, huge public outcry before quite a number of them were let go. One of those that was picked up and charged is a guest on this program, Michael, right? And then you look at an administration that has done that and is talking about youth inclusion through a conference. For some political pundits, they will say that's hypocritical. Maybe it's some sort of image laundering, so to speak. So what do you have to say to that?
I mean, we have two options. There are two options. The first option is to, continue to live in the past and never do anything. The second option is to then say, hey, young people need a voice. Let's give them the voice. You see, for me, it's either you decide to see this as half empty in terms of the cup, or you decide to see this as half full. But I want to see the positive side of this equation and not just the negative side. I was part of the NSAS protest. That was a very active part of it. And I totally respect, those that contributed, but protest is not the same thing as a conference. Protest is totally different from what we're currently trying to do. What we're trying to do now is to bring representatives together. And this is almost, 1 in a million opportunity for us to say, hey, we've got a voice. Let us then talk to the government and speak to the government, not in form of, protest or negative agitation, but now from a much more contribution, side of things, right? But wait, I also understand what you're saying in terms of, hey, this looks like we're just trying to, attract young people and keep them quiet. But I am seeing the brighter side of this. The brighter side for me is if we bring together quality young people, what will then happen? So let's imagine we get the opportunity to bring together in one room for 30 days, at different strata and different level,
okay,
the best of young people. We might then begin to create some form of information and policy that in the long term will transform, the government. And I'm quite very positive about this.
All right, Eyitayo, let me leave you for a moment. Let me bring in Abdul Danbature. He's the Speaker of the Arewa Youth Assembly for Good Leadership. Abdul, I of course would like to believe that you've had some of the contributions of the earlier speakers. You are a youth, you're from the northern region. To a very large extent, I'd also like to believe that maybe your views will be a reflection of young people in the north, youths in the north. What do you make of this idea of a youth confab by this administration?
Thank you, Mr. Depo. Like you said earlier, my name is Abdul Danbature, the Speaker of Arewa Youth Assembly for Good Leadership. But what I would say, I think it will shock Eyitayo, because I heard what he said, but I'm not in line with his own opinion. The reason why I said so is that we, the Northern Nigerian youth, I feel like we are disappointed from the president, or let me say, we are disappointed by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And let me make it clear for Nigerians to know, for non-Nigerians you to know, we are beginning to regret voting for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The reason why I said so is this. I think it's high time the president should stop playing politics with the issue of the youth, most especially the Northern Nigerian youth. We are beginning to lose hope. We are beginning to lose confidence in the governance of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because the heat is getting worse every day by day. Mr. Depo, if I should call the attention of Mr. Eyitayo, based on what he's saying here, just of yes, Eyitayo, just of recent, we came out for a peaceful protest about the MBAT governance in Nigeria. And what happened? The president come out and called for a dialogue. He said the youth should come out, should come for a dialogue. We abide by it because we are good citizens of this country. We obey the rules and regulations of this country, and we respect Mr. President so much as a leader and as a father. But what happened along the line? After when he called the youth, he called the organizations, all the leaders of the organization of the protest should come for a dialogue. What happened? They end up detaining most of our youth, most especially the youth from northern Nigeria. And what happened at the end of the day? We did not see no single invitation or no single step that the president take that would know that the president is making move to solve some of the problems that is affecting the northern Nigerian youth.
But don't you think that this idea of a youth confab is one of those steps the president might just be taking to address the problems of the youth?
No, we feel like Mr. President is just using this method. He's just using this method to play politics with Nigerian youth. What kind of youth comfort are we going to face again? What happened with all the things he has been saying during the NBAT governance? What happened? What change have we seen? There's no single change in this country. The things are getting worse every day by day. Hardship is killing people everywhere. Insecurity. We cannot go to farm. And what I'm telling you here, I cannot sit down and lie to myself that my people are smiling or my people are supporting what the president is saying. No, we are not supporting what the president is saying. We are not in support in what he is doing, because the northern Nigerian youth are beginning to lose confidence in his governance. We are beginning to lose hope on him.
And you feel that this youth confab would not reignite. I'm sorry, Abdul.
Let me say something on the issue of the confab, Mr. Depo.
Okay.
The reason why I said we are beginning to lose hope, because whenever the president wanted to do something, if it is genuine, we know the people that the president will confront. And we know the kind of step that the president will take to make sure that the comfort is successful. This comfort has got to the root. But what I'm telling you here, they will say they will call for a youth comfort, but they will end up inviting their friends and family. Because
anyway, they've not been specific yet on the selection process, Abdul.
We see this government,
because I want to move.
We see this Tinubu's government as government of Lagos, by the Lagos, and for the Lagos. That is how we see it.
All right. So you are saying that this youth confab would not renew your hope in this administration?
It's just politics. It's just politics.
It's just politics.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he's just trying to play politics with Nigerian youth or with northern Nigerian youth.
Okay.
And it's high time for us to come out and tell him the truth, because most of his people are not telling him the truth, and most of his people are not even competent for them to be there as a ministers or as a leaders of some of the parastatals or agencies. The truth of the matter is that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu need to make some steps, good steps that will bring peace, unity, and progress of this country. The hardship is too much, hunger, insecurity, everything is getting worse.
Abdul, you've made your point, and it's pretty clear and it's loud.
In his leadership.
Abdul, you've made your point. It's clear and it's loud. Let me go back to Michael, Adaramoye Lenin. My question to you is this. You were pretty much active during the hashtag #EndBadGovernance protest. You are one of the young persons that was picked up, you were arrested, you're charged with treason, you went through the, grueling ordeal of law court, and I mean, there was quite a number of legal hurdles you had to scale through. You spent time in detention and even prison, and you're out here, thank goodness. But I'd like you to reflect on all what you've been through in the, last year, in the previous months, with perspective to this confab. Even though the selection process has not been clearly spelled, if you're invited to be a part of it, would you oblige?
Well, thank you. I think the first thing is to give a clear answer to that. Is that myself as the national coordinator of the Youth Rights Campaign and also the Youth Rights Campaign, we will not be part of the national confab, even if we are invited. And that is because we strongly feel that Nigerian youth just some months ago have had their whole national confab, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, we've had a democratic gathering of Nigerian youth across different parts of the of the country, which is what we call today as the End Bad Governance protest. But it was not just a protest; it was also a gathering of Nigerian youth, which was an opportunity for them to lay out their demands, to tell the government the things they really want to see in a country that they believe is theirs. And out of all of these demands that were made during the End Bad Governance protest, there was no discussion around a youth confab. And if I find it because what Nigerian youth need, Nigerian youth truly needs, is access to education, access to healthcare, to gainful employment. They want to feel the presence of our government. Which, and if you look at any of us today, except for people who are familiar with history, many Nigerian youth today do not have any touch with governance.
Michael, if you can...
The social benefit of being a Nigerian.
If you can hear me, you said that... you sort of stated some of the things...
I said earlier, our home confab have been had on the street.
Okay.
And we've made our demands clear to the government, so that if the government was genuinely interested in listening to the youth, it ought to have listened to us some months ago when we were on the street to lay out our demands.
Okay, you made some demands. You said that what the Nigerian youth needs is access to education, employment, a better standard of living. But I mean, part of the key agenda of this confab, which hopes to address some of this issue, for instance, youth peace and security, education reforms, economic empowerment. I mean, these are pretty much the key issues that you've mentioned, with the hope that this confab would address. So, how do you react to this?
Well, thank you very much. I would like to point at the National Conference of 2014, which was announced by the Jonathan government just a year after the 2012 mass protest by Nigerians. Because mostly when presidents come up with this idea, it is to try and buy some social base for themselves, especially governments who have lost their social base, just like the Tinubu government of today, which has completely lost its social base among the people. So that the idea itself has always not been out of any genuine intention to address all of these issues that I've said earlier, the issue of employment also, because if you want to give employment to youth, you don't need to call it confab. You need to set in motion the economic process. I mean, all of the process in a way, to industrialize the country. If you want to provide accessible education to Nigerian youth, what you need to do is not a confab. What you need to do is to see how you make education to be quality, and then you reduce the charges paid by students today. So that if you want to give healthcare to people, what you need to do is to revamp the health sector, ensure that the health workers are under good conditions, especially through the training and other programs. So that all of these things are things that can be done without a press confab. And speaking about of a president that has spent close to a year in office now, and then and then you are coming with an idea of a confab for you to agree to the demands. For you to begin to do any of these things that you ought to have done in the last 1 or 2 years, it shows lack of seriousness, and it shows that there's really no genuine intention behind all of these things. It's just an avenue to buy out some youth. Either to even spend out cash to some youth and then begin to get some social base amongst some youth. But for you to truly understand what the Nigerian youth need, what the Nigerian youth actually require, we strongly feel that if the president has any genuine intention or any genuine need or is genuinely concerned about Nigerian youth, the end bad governance protest is more than enough. All of the demands listed by protesters during this period are enough to stand as basis for the government to begin to address issues that affect Nigerian youth.
Okay. At this point, of course, we'll return back to some pivotal issues, part of which, of course, includes the selection process and some outstanding issues. You talked about, Michael, you talked about the administration losing, will I call it a social base, particularly with young persons. We'll also dwell on that, but we'll go on a quick break now. When we return, definitely we'll pick up. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. This, of course, is still Politics HQ on New Central Television. And at this time, we're looking at the Youth Conference initiative by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu government, where for 30 days, youths will be gathered together to talk about pivotal issues affecting them. I still have my guest with me. I have Adaramoye Michael Lenin, who's National Coordinator of the Youth Rights Campaign, joining virtually from Abuja. I also have Eyitayo Ogunmola. He's a tech entrepreneur and the CEO of Utiva. He joins virtually from the United Kingdom. And Abdul Danbature, a spokesperson for the Arewa Youth Assembly for Good Leadership, who of course is also joining in virtually. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. Let me go to you, Eyitayo. I believe you've had what the co-speakers have said, and quite a number of them seem to counter your perspective on this youth conference. Maybe you might want to react, but my question to you is this. For some youths, trust seems to be a pivotal issue with this government, right? They would say, you know what, maybe it's just another political statement or political move just to fulfill our righteousness. How do you react to that?
Yeah, I totally understand. I understand where we're coming from. And I somehow, empathize with my other panelists, understand the fact that, we've been through the journey of, lack of trust as a major, element in terms of nation building. But for me, I don't throw the baby with the bathwater. I don't do that. I will continue to believe in this country. And I believe in this country is fundamental on the basis of if we bring people together to contribute intellectually to the growth of the country, we might, get some elements of very instrumental and instructive, information from them. Protest is not the same thing as a confab. Protest is totally different. For a protest, for example, you agitate and then you make a demand. But most times you don't flesh out, the entire instrument of the demand. So you're asking for, better employment opportunity for young people, during a protest. But the question is, how are we going to reach that? How are we going to achieve that? So you're saying that, hey, we want better quality education for young people during a protest, but you never flesh out, the element of the demand. You never talk about, in terms of the financial contribution that would help us to get there. One of the panelists talked about some things that the current, leadership has not been able to achieve. For me, when I look at this current leadership, I look at things like, the 3MT2 program, which is a 3 million technical talent program. I have seen firsthand lots of quality young people go into that program, learn technical skills, and move from unemployment to employment. Now, is it at the scale that we want it? Maybe not. But the reality here is that we have started. Maybe about 100,000 young people have been trained. And it looks like 100,000 out of about 150 million young people is quite very small. But the question is, if we don't take the baby step, we will never arrive at the destination. Look at the student loan program, right? You can say, hey, maybe that is not sufficient, but more than 10,000 young people have accessed this opportunity. They've gotten the financing to go to school and act and get quality education. You can say, oh, that is not enough. We have 150 million young people, but you're talking about just 10,000 people. But what would have happened if we had not taken the bold step? And for me, when I think about this confab, again, I will go back to the base. We are talking about building a nation. And building a nation doesn't only come through protest. Some people will play the role of activism and will continue to mount pressure on the government. But hey, how about when the government asks us, come help us, come around, let's have a conversation. We also need to go out of protesting and also begin to engage intellectually. And engaging intellectually for me is bringing the best of ourselves, the best of our brains, the young people across the 6 geopolitical zones, get them into rooms and say, contribute intellectually. The outcome of that is going to be magical. Okay. What would happen, for instance, if people like myself and you be a part of that type of conversation, we will suggest policies that maybe no one is thinking about, and hopefully someone adopts it, and we go from where we are today into the future that we've always hoped for. So I believe so much in the renewed hope, but ultimately we all need to contribute intellectually to these conversations.
All right, Eyitayo, thank you so much. Let me bring in Abdul Danbature. Please feel free to react to anything Eyitayo has said that you might not be comfortable with. But I would ask you a straight-up question. If you are invited, or your group is invited to be a part of the confab, would you be a part of it on behalf of the Arewa Youth Assembly for good leadership?
The Northern Nigerian youth are not going to be part of this National Youth Confab because we have lost confidence in the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The reason why I said so is that we have been engaging the federal government for so long, but what have you seen? We did not see any single change. So is it the national confab that is going to come out with a single change? No. We feel this is another method that the government is trying to use to distract Nigerian youth. And I don't think we are going to take that. This is 2025, where we have our plans and we will not allow the president to distract us. We have our plans to move Nigeria forward. We have our plan to sanitize our people. We have our plans to build ourselves, since the government are not ready to give us the support, the necessary support we needed. We came out to demonstrate in a peaceful protest. What happened at the end of the day? There is no single change. So what do you expect us to come and do in a national youth confab? To come and take coffee while my people in Zamfara state are being killed every day by day? To come and enjoy AC in Abuja, where my people in Sokoto are being kidnapped every day by day? To come and sleep in a hotel in Abuja, where my people in Katsina State or in Taraba State have no shelter? So I don't think we'll be part of this.
So how best do you think the administration can engage the Northern youth?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Depo. I think when you talk, when you said the federal government or the government should engage Nigerian youth, the president know much better with national comfort. I feel like national comfort, he just want to use that so that his boys will just bring their people from Lagos up to everywhere to come and occupy the whole places in the issue of the youth, whereby with the genuine youth, we are not going to be represented. So the president knows everything. As for me, who is speaking on behalf of the Northern Nigerian youth as the president of Arewa Youth. I think the president should start from improving issue of economic, and he should quickly tackle issue of insecurity, because these are the major challenges. The president needs to tackle issue of insecurity. By the time he tackles issue of insecurity, I think everything will come out into normal and the economic will stabilize. But by inviting the youth for a national youth conference, I don't think we will be part of it. And on behalf of Northern Nigeria, are not going to be part of the national comfort, because we are beginning to lose confidence on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Okay.
So we are not going to be part of it. We are not going to be part of it.
All right. Let me move to Michael. Michael, you've had a couple of things that Eyitayo has said. Maybe you choose to react. But my question to you is this. For young persons right now, what is their reality in the country?
Well, yeah, thank you. Sorry, I would just love to start by trying to briefly respond to what Mr. Eyitayo said. And that is regarding the question of protest. And I would love to make it clear. Protest is not just a political action. It is not only a democratic action, but it's also an intellectual action. It's also an intellectual contribution to nation building and to society, because it has not really been able to fulfill that role of being an intellectual contribution to society because of the way government has handled protests, the way they've repressed protesters. Because if government had employed a different approach to protest, in fact, this issue of our national confab itself would have been unnecessary. Because like we always say, protest is a way of initiating conversation with government. But today, because of the level of repression we always face anytime we call protest, or even before you begin to protest, they've started even arresting you. But for us, even before we embark on protest, we carry out different intellectual exercise, because it's not just to say there are problems in Nigeria, it's to also tell them that these problems truly have solutions, which is why we are on the street. We have always been on the street because we feel that those problems we are facing there are solutions to them, and governments, and we've always proposed all of these solutions, even before we embark on protest. Like for instance, the issue of the education sector. We've noted it clearly that the chronic underfunding and the lack of democratic management that we have in the system today, which even meant that the little funding schools are getting are being different administrators, so that at every opportunity we have, we propose alternative actions to spoke today. But only because all of these solutions mean that those people who are meant to remain there, some benefits that they are enjoying today. Because for instance, during the end by governance protest, we made it clear that
Michael, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we are having a bit of connectivity issues with you. Your line seems to be breaking. So I may just need to leave you for a moment and bring in Eyitayo into this. Now, Eyitayo, I just like I asked Danbature and also Michael, if you are invited, would you be a part of it? And what do you think the selection process should look like?
Thank you so much. And I've listened carefully to the other panelists. I totally agree that we should bring the best of us into the room to talk about the different parts of this moving vehicle called Nigeria. The protest is usually everyone is agitated about whatever we are asking for, right? I'll give you a very interesting example. My brother from the north, for example, talked about the northern youth losing hope in the current administration. And I always put it out there, what happens to the industrial digital park in Kano? That was a project of this current administration. And that project was supposed to train 60,000 northern youth, right, in technology skills. That entire facility was looted. That is the type of agitation that happens, during protests. Protest can be, some people can take advantage of that entire environment, right? And this is different from a protest. This is a much more, peaceful, atmosphere for us to have a conversation. And the agitation is lesser, because we're not just yelling at each other. We're actually talking and then thinking intellectually, asking critical questions. And at the end of this confab, we're submitting documents to different levels of the leadership, not just the presidency, right? To local government, chairman, to House of Assembly members, to House of Rep, to senators, so that everyone has a much more robust, document, and people can then begin to pick, intellectual, element, intellectual contribution from the outcome of the confab. But let me quickly answer your question in terms of how should we, construct this entire environment. For me, number one is we need to engage young people at different levels, diverse backgrounds, the rural, the urban area, gender, minorities, persons with disabilities. We need to go a little bit deeper. We're not just talking about, inviting APC youths to Abuja, because that's not going to be productive. While that is some element of the confab, we need to go deeper than that and invite other representatives. The second thing for me will then be, we need to then begin to ask ourselves, how do we empower people who are not even, in the country?
Because we're really pressed for time, Eyitayo, I would just ask you a straight one. If you're invited, would you oblige?
Oh, of course, certainly. I mean, I have always lived my life contributing to the growth of this country. I'm not going to stop, maybe as an activist, as a contributor, as an entrepreneur myself. That's what I will continue to do. And that's what, people like myself represent.
Okay. Quickly, because I know that we lost our connection with you, Michael. I'm coming back to you on this one. You might choose, of course, to land. But my final question to you is this. What is the reality of the Nigerian youth at the moment?
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's better now anyways, but I'm struggling with my network here. I apologize for that. But the point I was making earlier was trying to point out that protest itself is an intellectual contribution to society. And if it has not really fulfilled that purpose only, it is because of the attitude of the Nigerian ruling class to protest. But today, I'm a youth. We have millions of Nigerian youth today. And what I used to say is that if the country is moving forward, you don't need statistics to explain to people that the country is moving forward. You don't need statistics to explain to people that the government is doing the needful. You will see it in the lives of the people that are to feel the impact of such progress. And today, even by statistics, all of the indices to measure development, both concerning youth and even working class and everyone in society today, are in the negative, which shows clearly that the government has failed woefully to ameliorate the lives of Nigerian youth today. Because the fact that thousands of youth took to the streets to show their grievance to the government shows that there's really a break in a link between governance and Nigerian youth. And the only way to fix that is not, it goes far beyond just organizing talk shows like the confab, which are the
I'm sorry, Michael, but I'm made to understand that we really need to go now. If you can hear me, I'm of course made to understand that we need to go. But I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone. I wish we could, of course, take the final thoughts of everyone, but right now we just need to go. Many thanks. Adaramoye Michael Lenin is the National Coordinator for Youth Rights and Campaign, and also Eyitayo Ogunmola, Tech Entrepreneur and also the CEO of Utiva. Thank you so much for your time. Abdul Danbature, Speaker of the Arewa Youth Assembly for Good Governance. Gentlemen, I deeply appreciate your time on the program. Hopefully we have you again. Thank you so much.